there are not 5 guys who have played basketball, I'm going to say ever, better than Kobe Bryant.
I'm going straight to the top. Just put the stack on the clock. I am Ray Allen's a shot. I'm going straight to the top.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Mike here, Sports in the Real Podcast. Appreciate y'all joining me once again. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe and share and all that stuff. Tell your friends, family, neighbors, whatever. And I truly appreciate those, you guys who watch and listen for real. And I keep repeating that, and I mean it. The more I get into this space, the more I realize just 2-5 minutes of your time is so valuable. Because people's attention spans are just so small nowadays. It's like if you're watching something, for more than 3 minutes, you're like, damn, this is going on for so long. So even just, people who watch 5-10 minutes of this show means I'm doing something mildly interesting. And I appreciate you guys for that, for real. But let's jump right into it, y'all. NFL season is over. Sad day. Well, it's not over yet. Regular season's over. But that's a lot because that means Red Zone channel won't be coming on. And that means the Super Bowl is around the corner. That means it's truly going to be over. But the NFL regular season is over. Obviously, if you listen to my predictions podcast, most of what I said did not come true. I'm bad at predictions, as are most people. But a couple storylines to close out the NFL regular season before we jump into playoffs. First one up for me is big shout out to DeMeco Ryans CJ Stroud, first-year head coach, Houston Texans. Nobody wanted that job in Houston. Nobody. They had back-to-back coaches, just happened to be black coaches, fired after 1 year. They weren't going anywhere. They were trying to tank. And nobody wanted that job. But they brought home DeMeco Ryans, who was a former player for the franchise. And they drafted CJ Stroud, who, of course, people were bagging on him for his test scores. And dude, can the guy play or not? Can the guy play football? Does he look like he can play football or not? Plain and simple. So shout out to DeMeco and CJ Stroud for getting it done, man. Rookie head coach, defensive head coach. Like a lot of fans nowadays, right? And even commentators, you hear commentators on, radio, TV, these people, who are analysts on TV, who get the most airtime, the big time names, right? I'm not going to say anybody's name. The big time names, go listen to them. They all talk about these offensive gurus and offensive head coaches as they're the next it. It's always the next it is always, for some reason, it's always an offensive guy. The next hot ticket to your head coaching dreams, to your Super Bowl, is some offensive guy. So the next one up is this guy from the Detroit Lions, right? Ben Johnson. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with an offensive head coach, but I think fans, as well as these analysts who keep repeating these things on TV, need to realize is that there is no magic bullet, no silver bullet for winning a Super Bowl and a winning head coach. There's no magic tricks in the NFL. Your schemes are nice, but can you lead people? Can you lead men to bash their heads in every Sunday, every week? Can they trust that you have their back? That's what it takes to be an NFL head coach, man. It's less about schemes. It's more about, can I motivate these grown men to go essentially intentionally hurt themselves every week? And do it in a smart way that helps us win football games. That's what football is in the NFL. Can I relate to them? Am I personable, especially nowadays? And I'll get into this in a bit. Am I personable? Can I relate to these guys? Can they trust me? Do they trust that I have their back? I'm not going to turn on them. I'm not going to talk about them in the media. I'm not going to make them look bad. And I'm going to put them in a position to win and to make money. That's what it takes in the NFL. It's less about these fancy schemes. And nah, man, the schemes are nice. But it's football, man. You got to get punched in the face and get back up. Get your chest caved in and get back up. Get a concussion, but still want to play. So it takes more than these guru head coaches that everybody's falling themselves all over to hire to actually win football games and win championships. Like, you have to be trustworthy and a leader of men to win football games, to lead football teams. So DeMeco Ryans was a defensive coach. And he somehow was able to galvanize the Houston Texans enough. Now, the AFC South turned out to be a bad division. But with a rookie quarterback, he was able to win the division. Much props. He wasn't no offensive guru. John Harbaugh with Baltimore Ravens ain't no offensive guru. Mike Vrabel, who just got fired, isn't no offensive guru. Bill Belichick wasn't an offensive guru. I'll talk about Bill in a minute. The point is, it takes more to win in the league. And all these fans need to chill out, but calling out, these guys who are offensive gurus, you don't know how well they can lead an organization. Mike McDaniel with the Miami Dolphins is an offensive guru and happens to be a personable guy who's relatable and can lead a team. But not everyone can say that. There's been plenty of gurus, supposedly, offensive wizards, who can't get it done for whatever reason. Anyway, that was a quick tangent to start off. But shout out to DeMeco and CJ Stroud, Houston Texans going to the playoffs, man. First year. Future's bright for CJ, man. I love the kid. He's tough, smart. He just plays football. These damn test scores. Dan Marino had a low test score, by the way. A lot of the best quarterbacks have had low test scores. Maybe we don't need those damn tests anymore. Those tests tell you nothing. We don't need those tests. Who is getting paid off of the Wonderlic and all of these intelligence tests for football players? Because clearly they mean nothing. CJ Stroud is a baller. Test means nothing. Seriously, it means nothing. Plenty of guys have scored highly on the Wonderlic and these other tests, and they weren't that good. And it's just like college entrance tests, college entrance exams. The SATs, my SAT score wasn't that great. And my ACT score was even worse, subpar. But I was able to get into college. And then when it was time to get into grad school, my GMAT score to get into business school wasn't good. It was subpar. But thank God I was able to get in with the help of some folks, some connects. Shout out Dr. Bates. And I was able to get in. And I finished that. And I was able to graduate with really good GPA both times. And have a job and a career and this and that. Like other cats got higher scores than me, went to better schools, and they're probably doing just the same as me or some maybe even not as good as me. Not that I'm doing so great. But the point is that not everyone does good at tests, man. Not everyone does good at standardized testing. And I'm not even going to get into the inherent racial bias in standardized testing. That's been talked about, all right? But not everyone's a tester. Some people just know how to get the job done, whether in a professional workplace or whether on the football field or basketball court. You just know how to hoop. You know how to play football. And that's CJ Stroud. So get rid of all these tests, man. They mean absolutely nothing. I have not heard anyone say, well, this guy is a great football player because he scored. No, he just happened to be a really good test taker. That's all it was. So shout out to CJ, man. Shout out to DeMeco Ryans. The Browns made the playoffs without Deshaun Watson. Actually, their best quarterback play came after Deshaun Watson went out. That's crazy because Deshaun Watson was looking sus all year for the few games he played. But Joe Flacco comes up in there, and he's flashing back. Shout out to the Browns. Their defense is nasty, and they just have the right again, man. I'm gonna keep repeating this. It takes more than just your quarterback to win in the NFL. Elite quarterback, no elite quarterback. And I'll touch on this again later on. I know I'm forecasting a lot here, foreshadowing. But the Browns didn't have no elite QB for most of the year, and they go to the playoffs. Why? Because they have a tough defense, solid run game, and they made timely plays. And for the most part, that's what you need to win in the NFL. Whether or not they can go win a Super Bowl, I don't know. But there's no guarantee that, some elite quarterback would have gotten them to the Super Bowl either. So does it really matter? So shout out to the Browns. The Eagles still look suspect. I'm not going to lie. I don't trust the Eagles a damn bit. I don't trust the Eagles at all. Their defense is not good. If you watch that last game against the Giants, who were pretty much done with the season like 6 games ago, the Eagles' defense looks horrible. And I said this before. I think the Eagles may have missed their Super Bowl window. And I don't know if Jalen Hurts is as good as advertised. His passing touchdown numbers were low. And his rushing touchdown numbers, more than half of his rushing touchdown numbers were those tush-push joints. Like 1 yard and in. Phew. I don't want to sound like a hater, man, but the Eagles may have made a mistake paying Jalen Hurts all that money. We will revisit that in a couple years. Bookmark it. I'm not going to expand. I don't want to sound like a hater. But I never thought Jalen was worth 200 whatever million he got. I thought he was surrounded by great talent, especially on his offensive line. He's protected well. Like, he never has to make quick decisions. He's athletic, but he never has to make quick decisions. He's protected well. And he has some really, really good wide receivers and a really good tight end. But I don't want to go any further. I don't want to hate or sound like a hater. That was just me, just my observations. So bookmark that, put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that one. I'm going to vent here, y'all. The Miami Dolphins blew the AFC East. The Dolphins blew the AFC East. We had like a 3-game lead or something like that on the Bills for the division with like 5 weeks left. Something like that. And we blew it. And we blew it in typical Miami Dolphins fashion. For those who aren't familiar with the Miami Dolphins, this is how it happens just about every year, man. They get your hopes up only to let you down. And it's freaking heartbreaking every year. Thank God I'm no longer one of those guys that live and die each week with my team, where heartbreak causes me to be useless for a whole week because my team lost. Because although I'm a Dolphins fan, I am no longer that Dolphins fan. And I can't imagine that Dolphins fan. Like those guys who were still that Dolphins fans, those guys are struggling this week. Because once again, the Dolphins pick us up. They make us think there's something that it turned out to be not. And it's so frustrating to watch, man. Like, I'm still invested, obviously, but I'm not as invested. Emotionally, I'm not as tied to them. Thank goodness. Because that would hurt. It hurts to watch your team do that. And let me say this, man. I'll get into this even more also. More foreshadowing. Tua has to be better. I'm not saying that Tua can't win a Super Bowl. Listen to me good. I'm not saying that Tua can't win a Super Bowl, but Tua is going to have to be better in order for the Miami Dolphins to be a Super Bowl champion, to win a Super Bowl. And I'm not saying go out there to do it by yourself, but you're going to have to be better against better teams. The Miami Dolphins this year, except for beating the Dallas Cowboys, pretty much stuck up the joint against the better teams. And that's how you know if somebody's a true contender or not. So despite the fact that the Dolphins put up nice yards and look really good and blowing out the Denver Broncos, scoring 70 points and doing this and doing that, Tyreek, being the cheetah, we got the fastest team in the league. It's a track team, the greatest show on turf, all this stuff. The Miami Dolphins this year were a finesse team, and the better teams that had good defenses bullied them all year. The Buffalo Bills bullied them that last game of the season. The Baltimore Ravens bullied them all game the week before. Smacked them up and down the field, left and right. And yeah, there were some injuries, but toughness, you can see it. Even with or without injuries, you can see toughness. Like the Miami Dolphins had chances to win that Buffalo game and to make stops against Buffalo, but they couldn't. One play in particular, I think it's like 3rd and long, and Josh Allen starts to scramble, and defensive players are literally scared to tackle Josh Allen. Defensive players who get paid to tackle are scared to tackle a quarterback. That's how you know the mentality of your team, man. So the Miami Dolphins were a finesse team all year, and they bamboozled the media. They bamboozled the NFL. Because I, as a diehard Dolphins fan, but who have been watching football for the longest time, I can tell really good contender teams. And I'm not saying our season's over. Obviously, it's only the regular season. But I think we're going to go to KC and lose. But the Dolphins disappoint once again because they were all finesse and no toughness. So Josh Allen is running on 3rd and 14 or something like that, I think it is. Some long yardage, and he gets a first down, and there's a still shot with like 4 or 5 dudes ready to tackle him, and none of them want to take him head on. They're scared. Soft. They were a soft team. Another disappointment is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, to some in the media, they were the next up team. They were it. Trevor Lawrence was it. Some called him the Prince. They were supposed to take over the AFC South from the Tennessee Titans, and they did not. The season ended. They looked terrible. And people can say what they want to say. They had injuries. They're missing some talent. Nah, man. But all the hype that the Jacksonville Jaguars got, they were supposed to be a better team. They weren't supposed to go out like that. But they did. And why is that? Why did Jacksonville go out like that? I don't know. I don't know if it's coaching, although Doug Peterson, is a pretty good coach, I think. He helped the Eagles win a championship. I think Doug Peterson is a good coach. Well, he led the Eagles to a championship. So I don't think it's him, is it? So this leads me actually to my next topic I wanted to talk about as it relates to the NFL. And this goes for both the Jaguars and the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa is a good quarterback. Tua is a solid QB. Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is a solid QB. But Tua has never, hear me out, y'all. For Dolphins, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan through and through. Dan Marino is God to me. Tua is a good quarterback. But Tua did this year what he's done his entire career dating back to Alabama. Tua did this year essentially what we've seen him through since he was at Alabama, which is be a good quarterback, but in big games, not be good enough to take you over the hump. Go back to Alabama, y'all. Go back to Alabama. Tua doesn't have a big win under an equally, good team under his belt going back to Alabama. I know the Dolphins beat the Cowboys a couple weeks ago. But outside of that Cowboys game, when it comes down to Tua winning a big game, going back to Alabama, how many of those does he have under his belt? I know he came in for Jalen Hurts in a championship game and won that game on a go ball. I know that, right? But he didn't play that whole game. He was essentially like Nick Saban saying, man, we got to do something. Let's get Tua in there. When has Tua won a big game dating back to college to a team that was equally, where it was equally matched? He hasn't. But for some reason, Dolphins media and fans were clamoring for Tua for the longest time. And Dolphins media made us think that Tua was the next thing, right? The next it. He was going to save the franchise. So far, Tua has zero big wins under his belt. Yeah, the Dolphins beat the Cowboys, but I'm not sure, anybody could have won that game. But we'll give him the Cowboys win. Outside of the Dallas Cowboys game, Tua hasn't won a single big game in the NFL, and I can't think of any big games that he won in college where the teams were equally matched with Alabama. So Dolphins fans, if y'all remember, be honest now, Dolphins fans wanted Ryan Tannehill gone. They wanted nothing to do with Ryan Tannehill. Dolphins fans blamed Ryan Tannehill for all the organization's ills. He was garbage. They didn't win anything with Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill could never win the big game. So far, Tua has not won a single big game with the Miami Dolphins. And in the biggest moments when we need him, he comes up small. And Ryan Tannehill never had a team on offense like Tua has. So we can say whatever we want. I'm not arguing that, the Dolphins should have kept Ryan Tannehill one way or another. But what I am saying is that Tua, who was hyped up to be the next big thing for Miami, has turned out to not be it. The only difference between Tua and Ryan Tannehill is that Tua gets FaceTime by celebrities. That's it. He's a nothing to make us believe that he is going to win a Super Bowl. Unfortunately. And I'm not one of those people who believe that the quarterback has to do it alone. Absolutely not. I'm not one of those guys who think the quarterback has to do it alone. But the quarterback at certain times has to make critical plays and win big games in the regular season. So not even in the regular season has Tua proven that he can win big games. And that's what bothers me the most. It's not the playoffs success, right? He hasn't played in the playoffs yet. Who knows how he'll do. But it's the regular season games I want to see. Hey, man, when things get tough, how do you perform? And so far, Tua hasn't been it. And so far, Trevor Lawrence hasn't been it for the Jaguars. So the Jaguars had high hopes for Trevor, man. And I've said before, I like the kid. I like Trevor Lawrence. From the first time I watched Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, I was like, damn, this guy's the number one pick in the draft. Laser arm, athletic. But it hasn't translated over, man. So the Jaguars, on the heels of making the playoffs last year, just barely get kicked out at the end of the year by the Tennessee Titans, who had a horrible year. How does that happen? Trevor Lawrence and Tua are part of the problem with the NFL. The NFL has a problem in that the quarterback market sucks. The quarterback market in the NFL is terrible because young QBs come up, they perform pretty well, and they feel like they should get paid. And they should feel that way. Everyone should want to get paid. And teams and fans feel like these guys should get paid. But the organizations, like, there's not that many quarterbacks, so we have to pay these guys, supposedly. And this is the problem. This is a problem. Is that there's this view out there that because the quarterback position is scarce, that we have to pay all of these young guys who put up decent stats and look decently good. So the Jags are going to feel like they have to pay Trevor Lawrence, even though his production and his team's winning hasn't really been much, right? He hasn't produced the victories that someone would say, well, this guy deserves it all. Tua hasn't produced the victories in the moments to say that this guy deserves it all. Trevor Lawrence ended the year with 21 touchdowns, 14 picks, 4,000 yards. Tua ended with 29 touchdowns, 14 picks, 4,600 yards. A lot of those stats for Tua, I'm not going to lie, were fluff stats. But the point I'm making is that the quarterback market in the NFL is garbage, and teams feel like they have to pay these dudes an exorbitant amount of money. They're going to take up the entire cap space because teams feel like, man, if we don't, then our team's going to just go tank, go downhill. We're not going to have a quarterback. There's a scarcity. There's a scarcity of good quarterbacks in the NFL. So teams feel like as soon as the young QBs come up, we have to pay them. And all of these young QBs feel like, or they want to, reset the QB market. So Trevor is probably going to want to reset the market, and Tua is going to want to reset the market. And the Jaguars have to make a decision whether or not they want to pick up Trevor's fifth-year option. Just like Justin Herbert reset the market and Burrow reset the market, and all these guys want to reset the market. That's fine if you're winning, but if you're not winning, how do you reset the market? And again, I'm not telling these guys not to get their money. Get your money for sure. But as a team, are you sure you want to reset the market with Trevor Lawrence and Tua? And it's easy for fans. It's easy for fans to say, hey, man, this QB sucks. Let's not reset the market for him. Matter of fact, let's cut him now. He's not worth a second contract. Right? I'm not going to say any names. Y'all know who they are. One plays in New York. Actually, a couple of them play in New York. One of them already got a fat contract. All right, that's it. No, but seriously, it's easy for fans to see bad quarterbacks and say, hey, this guy doesn't deserve it. But what's more difficult for fans and for organizations to say is my quarterback who's pretty good worth so much of my salary cap to where it handicaps me from putting great players around them? Because these quarterbacks in their first 3-4 years have proven that they're good quarterbacks, but we don't know if they're Super Bowl quarterbacks yet because they haven't won nothing. They haven't won anything. So if they haven't won anything, can we trust that they'll be able to win something with less talent around them? Because the Dolphins have really good talent. They have all the offensive talent in the world. Even with injuries, their O-line is struggling. Yeah, have injuries and this and that. But they have superb talent around Tua. But if Tua doesn't win now with all this talent around him, can he win when he is making boku money, taking up all the salary cap, and you can't afford Tyreek and Waddle? Jacksonville has pretty good talent around Trevor Lawrence. But if Trevor Lawrence starts taking up all of the salary cap, can you trust that Trevor Lawrence will win with less talent around them than he does now? We don't know that. So as an organization, it's a tough situation to be in. You want to pay your guy. You want to keep him. But can you afford him to pay what he's going to be looking for? And that's a tough position to be in. Like I said, it's easy to say, hey, man, this guy sucks. Let's not pick up his fifth-year option. Let's cut him now, actually. He's not that good. It's easy to say, don't pay that guy because he sucks. It's much harder to say, this guy's looked pretty good. What do we do with them? What do the Dolphins do with Tua? What do the Jacksonville Jaguars do with Trevor Lawrence? It's a rock and a hard place, man. So what I'm getting at is, it's going to take somebody, one of these organizations, to shift the paradigm, shift the way of thinking. So again, the QBs are always going to ask for the money. But it's going to take one of these organizations to say, hey, we're not going to pay you reset money, right? Reset market money. We're not going to do that. We're not going to pay you reset market money. We'll pay you, but not that much. Take it or leave it. It's going to sound crazy, but they're going to have to. Essentially, these teams are going to have to be teams that build rosters that can essentially win with what we'll call a reused, people call a mid QB, right? Like the Niners. The Niners built a team that most NFL starting quarterbacks can win. They can win with. Like if you go down the list of starting NFL quarterbacks, how many do you go down before you like the 49ers cannot win with this guy? It may not look exactly the same, but how far do you get before you say the 49ers cannot win with this guy? Will not win as much with this guy. It's because the 49ers have built a team that can withstand all of that. They're not QB dependent. Most of these other teams are QB dependent. So you have to pay this guy a boatload of money. And if he didn't win before, he ain't going to win after you pay him even more. So the Niners are a good example of a team that's pretty stacked. Offensive weapons, defense is nice, scheme is great. Like they're not QB dependent. So you could go down pretty mid-tier QB and say the 49ers could still win pretty good amount of games. It may not look the same, but they can win a pretty good amount of games with a middle-tier quarterback who's not going to be paid market reset money. Dolphins offense is kind of like that too. Like there's a ton of quarterbacks in the NFL who will look damn good playing for the Miami Dolphins. Ryan Tannehill included. My guy. They may not look the same. The offense may not look the same because this offense is predicated on Tua and his anticipation, and he has to anticipate because his arms aren't as strong, right? He doesn't have Josh Allen's rifle, so he can't throw the ball late and still get it there. Like he has to be on schedule. So it may not look the same. The offense may not look the same in Miami, but there's a hell of a lot of quarterbacks who can succeed down in Miami with that offense. Look at the Bengals with Jake Browning. This dude now thinks he can start in the NFL, and maybe he can. But the only reason he thinks so is because the Cincinnati Bengals have a really good offense. They have some serious weapons on that team. Playing with Chase and Higgins and Tyler Boyd, like pretty good weapons. So Jake Browning looks good. So could the Bengals have saved money and gotten even better and built a better O-line and better defense if they're not paying Joey B $1 bazillion? Again, I'm not telling these QBs not to make their money. Go get yours, all of it. But these organizations have to make a decision when it comes to that kind of stuff, man. So one of these organizations is going to have to take a risk, and I say the Niners are a good example. The Dolphins are a good example where you're like, we've built an offense. We have a scheme. We have a team that most QBs will be successful in. So we'll pay you, young quarterback, but we're not going to pay you top dollar because we want to use some of that cap space to surround you. Now, do you want to win or do you just want to make money? And if the QB says, hey, I just want to make a lot of money, the organization may have to go another way. You may have to go to one of these mid-tier quarterbacks, one of these we call them recycled parts quarterback. One of the recycled quarterbacks who maybe they've gotten paid before, right? Some other organization paid them. Joe Flacco, was at the end of his career pretty much, retired at the crib. And Joe Flacco came in and helped the Browns to the playoffs. So a team's going to have to look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, can we build a program like the 49ers to where most quarterbacks can walk in and look pretty good and help us win, and even somebody like Jimmy G can take us to the Super Bowl? It may not be Hermes. It's not the highest quality. It's not Balenciaga. We ain't shopping at Payless, right? We're not going, swimming in dumpsters here. We ain't dumpster diving, but we ain't top notch either. We ain't paying for that up here. We're just paying for, I don't know, Macy's, Dillard's brand, Dillard's kind of stuff, Polo. Polo's nice still, right? Tommy's nice still, I think. So we're not paying for those top of the line brands that most people can't afford. We're gonna pay for the guys that people who think they got money pay for. Y'all get my drift. But essentially, a team is gonna have to say, hey man, I'm not gonna tie up all my salary cap to a quarterback that I don't know if this guy's actually gonna help me win a Super Bowl or not. So instead of doing that, I'm gonna build my team with all types of stars and have an infrastructure in place so that most quarterbacks, right, even getting like 15, 16, tier quarterbacks can win on my team, can help my team win. Go after those recycled QBs, right? Like the Titans did with Ryan Tannehill after the Dolphins let him go, right? The Dolphins had paid Ryan Tannehill all this money. They let him go. Titans trade for him on a cheap. And then, for 3 years, he helps them go to the playoffs. And because the NFL is so fluky when it comes to Super Bowls, that's really all you can ask for is a quarterback to help you get to the playoffs. And then once you get there, anything could happen. Because with injuries and, the way the ball bounces sometimes, you're not guaranteed to go to win a Super Bowl, even if you're paying an elite quarterback. Because everything has to line up. And even Patrick Mahomes is feeling the sting now as being highly paid and not having anything around him besides Travis Kelce. And the media is making excuses for Pat, saying he doesn't have this and that around him while he's getting paid a lot. And the GM and team thought, well, we have Pat, we don't need anything else, apparently, because they didn't want to go pay. They didn't want to go pay for DeAndre Hopkins in the offseason. So that's what teams are going to have to do, man. Somebody, I don't know who's going to be the first, but somebody's going to have to bite the bullet and say, I'm not going to pay my young up-and-coming quarterback market reset money. I'm going to build this team, build everything around them so that just about any quarterback can succeed. So that somebody like Jake Browning can come in and play so well that he thinks he's now a starter in the NFL. That's my take on that. So Trevor and Tua, go get your money. But if I'm the Dolphins and I'm the Jaguars, I don't know if I'm paying these guys market reset money. I don't. I'm sorry. I like Trevor. I like Tua. But I don't know. Again, it's not that these guys can't win a Super Bowl, because of winning a Super Bowl is not all on the quarterback. It's more so, can this guy win a Super Bowl without anything around him, with limited parts around him? And the answer for both of these guys is no. Therefore, you better off spending money building the whole team and finding a quarterback who can produce at a decent enough level to keep you in the playoff hunt every year. That's my thought on that. So, yeah, the Jaguars and the Dolphins are in a tough situation there, fellas and ladies. Tough situation. Let's keep going. Bill Belichick may get fired soon. And I wanted to say this quickly on Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is a great head coach. Go down as one of the best, if not the best head coach. Bill Belichick's style, the reason Bill Belichick is not winning anymore, in my opinion, people think it's because Brady left. It's not just because Brady left. It's what left with Brady. When Brady left, Bill Belichick lost someone who was in his corner, who saw things his way, someone who was willing to win at all costs. With Brady leaving, Bill Belichick lost somebody who had the same drive and who, even though his personality, wasn't the greatest, Brady was willing to put up with Bill Belichick's personality and the tough guy attitude to win, because Brady wanted to win at all costs. That's all Bill Belichick wanted to do. Do your job. And you'll hear all these players go to New England and come out and say it's not fun out here, even though we're winning, it's not so fun. You never heard that from Brady, because Brady put up with that crap because all he wanted to do was win. So when Brady left, Bill Belichick lost that voice in the locker room that essentially would be him to the players, to translate that. So the tough guy act that Bill Belichick has, and no fun and this and that coincidentally all of Bill Belichick's other assistants go on and try to implement elsewhere, and it doesn't work. It didn't work for them, and it's not working anymore for Bill Belichick, because Bill Belichick lost Tom Brady, someone who was as driven, who didn't care about having fun, who just wanted to win and to prove the haters wrong that he was drafted in the 6th round. That's all Brady was focused on for so long, and because they had success early on, he put up with it. He put up with the nonsense. He put up with the coach that may not have been as fun as other coaches. He put up with locker rooms that may not have been as fun as other locker rooms, because he was winning. So when Brady left, the guy who was pretty much the stand-in for Bill Belichick was gone. So now Bill Belichick is talking to a new generation of players who kind of want to have fun. You can't just be a hard ass with these modern day players anymore. Most of the new coaches getting hired and the ones who are successful are really players coaches. So Bill Belichick's style doesn't work in today's NFL, not because he doesn't know how to coach anymore, not because he's not still a great defensive mind. Two things cost him. One, he sucks as a personnel guy, bringing in personnel, all right? He sucks as a personnel guy. But two, his personality and his style, I don't think works in the modern day NFL anymore. And it probably would have stopped working a long time ago had Brady left a long time ago. But because Brady was essentially there and they were winning, and Brady was able to, translate and communicate to the team, hey, we're trying to win here, right? And the players saw how dedicated Brady was, and they're trying to win. And yeah, we're going to win, and we're all focused. And then when they leave, they're like, man, it wasn't fun over here. And now that Brady's gone, Brady's partying on the lake, Tampa Bay, after winning a Super Bowl. He never did that with the Patriots because they were laser focused. So it's not just the skill. They lost the skill with Brady, but they also lost the guy who was the leader of the team, the captain, and who was willing to put up with the BS and put up with anything to win. And once you stop winning, nobody wants to hear that crap anymore. The same thing happened with all of his assistants. No matter where they've gone, none of Bill Belichick's assistants have had much success because they're rubbing players the wrong way. They're rubbing organizations, management the wrong way. Yeah. Think about that, y'all. Think about that. It's not Bill Belichick, the coach, that sucks as far as schemes and things like that. He's still a hell of a defensive mind. This guy, the Patriots still give Josh Allen struggles every game. It's not that he can't coach defense anymore. Every time the Bills play the Patriots, Josh Allen struggles. So he can still scheme. I think, one, it's the personnel he brings in. So Bill Belichick, the personnel guy, sucks. But two, Bill Belichick being able to be personable and to lead a modern-day NFL team with modern-day NFL players without somebody like Tom Brady for players to look to for leadership, to serve as the intermediary, I think that's what's going to cost Bill his job. Winning made it easier to put up with some of that BS. When you're not winning and you don't have somebody there to step in for you and to speak the same message as you like Brady did, that's the result you're going to see. Sorry, Bill. The end of an era Hell of a coach. All right, let's wrap up NFL playoffs. I'm not going to sit here and do all 3 rounds of NFL playoffs, right? Predictions today. All I'm going to say is this. I think the Super Bowl is going to come down to the Ravens and the Niners. Those two are the 2 most complete teams. And I think the 49ers win. I think the 49ers are the most complete team. I think they're able to cover up mistakes. When their quarterback is off, they can cover up mistakes better. Whereas for the Ravens, they have good receivers, but they're kind of dependent on Lamar and his legs. So if Lamar and his legs get shut out, the Ravens may struggle in the playoffs. Now, in the regular season, they can get away with it, the defense, but in the playoffs, I could see them struggling. I could see them struggling if Lamar struggles. So I got the 49ers beating the Ravens. That's my Super Bowl pick. We'll see y'all. All right, NBA. The Suns look like a hot garbage team, a hot mess, terrible. I've said it before, they need a point guard, someone who actually knows how to run the point. So the Suns look garbage. Oklahoma City looks good. And as the NFL winds down, I'll be getting more into the NBA season. But OKC looks good, man. Young team. Don't know how far they can go, but OKC looks good. Again, Suns look garbage. OKC look good. Lakers are once again looking to trade everybody. Every time LeBron gets to this point, man, listen. LeBron, one of the best to ever do it. But every year, the Lakers get to this point and they're not playing as well. Their records aren't as good as people thought they would be. They're looking to sell the farm. And they're blaming everybody except for Bron. And I've said this for years. As long as the Lakers continue to play this style where LeBron is the center of it all, it's this heliocentric basketball style around LeBron, the Lakers aren't going to win a championship, man, because LeBron is too old to be doing that. He's too old. But they can't bring anybody else, any more dynamic wing players in because those guys want the ball, but LeBron won't give up the ball. LeBron won't play off ball. If the Lakers are going to win anything, LeBron's going to have to get better or learn to play off ball, man. I'm not talking about occasionally. I'm talking about most of the time. Let somebody else run the team. But that's never going to happen. So every year the Lakers get to this point and they're looking to trade the house. So we'll see how it turns out. But as of now, they're a good team. They'll probably win a round or two in the playoffs. But I still feel like they would lose to Denver. But we'll get into the NBA more as it goes along. I did want to talk about this because this happened recently. The New York Knicks traded R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly for OG Anunoby. And I like OG Anunoby. I don't know if he's worth Emmanuel Quickly and R.J. Barrett. I think the Knicks got fleeced. Knicks got raw, bamboozled. All right? I think Emmanuel Quickly is more valuable than R.J. Barrett. And I watched the Knicks for the last however many years, right? Because Derrick Rose was on the team. My guy D. Rose. So I watched quite a lot of Knicks games. And I'm not even a Knicks fan, but I watched because I wanted to see D. Rose play. R.J. Barrett, the expectations for him remain high only because of his draft status. When really, R.J. Barrett needs to see how he can become more like OG Anunoby, the guy they just traded for. It's really, really good 3-and-D guy. Get your jump shot consistent. Get your defensive game up. You got the size to do it. But R.J. Barrett was never like that. Sorry, Knicks fans. R.J. Barrett has no right hand, never had a right hand. He's slow. He's stiff. His jumper is inconsistent. Disappears in big games quite a bit. Whereas Emmanuel Quickly, he can get buckets. I don't know if he's a starting caliber point guard on a championship team, but he can start in the league. I'm not sure if he can win a championship with Quick. But as a sixth man for the Knicks, I love them. Dynamic, instant offense. handles, quick, gets to the paint, extended range. He was the steal of that trade, not R.J. Barrett. Now, R.J. Barrett may put up better numbers. Now that he's left the Knicks, he'll get the ball more. But he ain't like that. And the Knicks should be happy that they traded him to get out from under that contract and those expectations. Now, here's the problem. What do the Knicks do now? What are the Knicks going to do now? Because OG Anunoby is not going to be cheap. He ain't cheap. And they're still not a contender. They're still not a championship contender with OG. People get mad all they want. The Knicks still aren't a contender. I don't think they really. I know they've won pretty much all their games, right? Since OG's been there. But I don't think OG takes them over the top. I still think they're a second-round team at best in the East. But they lost that trade, man, because I really, really like Emmanuel Quickly. R.J. Barrett, not so much. Emmanuel Quickly, yeah. They lost a lot. But I don't think they're that good. And one of the things that came out, again, probably a month ago or so, is that Becky Hammon, head coach for the Las Vegas Aces, said she doesn't think, the Knicks have a 1A. As good as Brunson is, Jalen's all right. Jalen Brunson's all right, but as good as he is, he's not a 1A player. And, people went crazy, and Big Perk was like, no, he's a 1A. The Knicks have a 1A. His name is Jalen Brunson. No, he's not a 1A. Like, in the playoffs, man, in this modern NBA, you need a guy that's, like, at the top of the top, that's, like, unstoppable. You have to double him. And even then, he's going to give you buckets. Like the Joker, like, he was unstoppable in the playoffs. That's 1A. The league right now only has so many guys who are truly 1A. There's only like 4 or 5 of these guys who are truly 1A. The rest of the guys are masquerading as 1A guys. Guys who for sure, like, this guy is my best team, best player, as long as he's surrounded by pretty good talent, this guy can win us a championship. There's not that many guys like that in the league. Jalen Brunson, as nice as he is, he can score, but he's not the dominant takeover guy, nothing you can do about guy. Like the Knicks went up against the Heat last year. The Heat sent him home. And it's not that Jalen can't hoop. He can get buckets, but the 1A guy doesn't just get buckets, man. He demolishes, like, he destroys people's morales, even in the playoffs. No matter what you throw at him, like, he's doing his thing. He's getting the buckets. He's assisting. He's creating. He's getting the rebound. He's playing defense. Jalen can't play defense. He's too small. He plays no defense. He draws charges, though. He's good at that. But he can't defend. So he'll get buckets, but he's not 1A. And Becky Hammon was like, well, if it's tough for a guy who's, that short to be a 1A. True. But not only is Jalen not a 1A because he's that short, his game is just not 1A material. That's just the truth. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry, Knicks fans. So the Knicks are going to be pretty good still. Second-round team. But they are still lacking that top of the top guy who for sure, no matter what the defense throws at you, this guy is going to carry us through. And not only that, a number 2 guy who is almost just as good. Like, if you think about the Nuggets last year, Joker was playing ridiculous level, but right under that, you couldn't stop Jamal Murray either. So your number 1A and your 2 was like, they were like 1A, 1B. You couldn't stop Jamal Murray last year. So you really need, in this day and age, you really need 2 guys who are top of the top. And I don't know if the Knicks have either a 1 or a 2A. 2 guys who you go into the playoffs saying, stop these guys. I dare you to stop these guys. The Nuggets got it. The Lakers can have it when Anthony Davis plays up to his potential every game, but he doesn't. Phoenix has it. The problem with Phoenix is they don't have any depth. Again, they're still missing a point guard. But as far as scorers, they got 2, 3 guys who you really can't stop from scoring. They just need to the Suns need to figure their team out. Again, I'll talk about them at a later time. because they haven't played too many games with Bradley Beal, so I have to figure them out, right? The Clippers may have that, but James Harden disappears in the playoffs. So most teams don't have that. They don't have the top of the top guy, and they probably don't have the guy to pair with the top of the top guy. So New York has neither. New York has neither a 1A or a 2 guy. So they're going to be a second-round exit most likely. Tough team. I like Tom Thibodeau, but that's just the way it is. Like the 1A guys, man, Steph and Durant and Giannis and LeBron and the Joker, those are the guys, you put the right guys around them, these guys can take you to a chip, man. On the right team, these guys can go there. We hope somebody like Tatum could get there. We hope somebody like Joel Embiid can get there. We hope Luka can get there, but so far they haven't. For one reason or another, either no-show, injury, whatever it is, they just haven't gotten there. But there's only so many 1A guys, and the Knicks don't have them. They don't have a 2 either. So they're a second-round exit, like I said. Like, go through all the teams. Think about it. Go through all the teams. How many guys have a true top-of-the-top guy that you know for sure, no matter what the defense does, this guy can take over a game. This guy can demoralize a team. SGA is great, unstoppable offensively. I don't know if SGA is at the level where you're like, man, for 4 rounds, this guy is going to just go straight ball out and be unstoppable. Offense, defense. Or if you're like Steph, have somebody to cover you on defense while you destroy on offense. And have your counterpart, Klay Thompson, also go ham and be able to defend the best perimeter player. Like Steph was in a special situation. But Steph was so good offensively that you were kind of able to ignore his defense. But that's what you need. You need this guy to be top of the top, unstoppable for 4 straight rounds. Even Jimmy Butler went ham last year. He's notorious for going crazy in the playoffs. And even he, at some point, ran up against a team where Denver was like, they clamped them. To win in the NBA playoffs, to win an NBA championship, you need at least one guy who goes nuclear, who nobody can stop no matter what they do. And you need a second guy who's almost just as good in today's NBA. And I don't know if the Knicks have that. Sorry, Knicks fans. All right, last thing, y'all, and I'm going to wrap it up. People are straight disrespecting Kobe Bryant after he's passed. And I can't stand it. I cannot stand the Kobe disrespect, man, because people, especially these new age kids who want to prop up LeBron, and in order to prop up LeBron, they feel like they have to disrespect Kobe and his greatness and his legacy. It's okay to say LeBron's great without trying to make it seem like Kobe was a scrub. And then you have people on TV talk about Kobe as number 8. Listen, most of us who are alive now didn't watch TV in the 40s and 50s, all right? But in my lifetime, there are not 5 basketball players who were better than Kobe Bryant ever in the NBA. I don't care what your analytics says. There are not 5 basketball players better than Kobe Bryant all time. All right? And next to Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant is like the most complete basketball player ever. Complete. So stop disrespecting Kobe. Kobe had the handles. Left hand, right hand. Left to right, right to left crossover. He could dribble, goal. He could score going left. He could score going right. Some guys can only do certain things going left, and they can do certain things going right. Some guys can, if they go left, they're pulling up for the J. If they go right, they're going straight to the basket because they don't know how to pull up, turn their body around, and shoot the J. Kobe can score inside, outside, going left, going right. Footwork was impeccable. Some guys, even some guys we call great, footwork ain't that great. They're still traveling. I ain't going to say no names. Footwork impeccable for Kobe. His jumper was wet, whether it's a set shot or a pull-up. Off ball, on ball. pull up, whatever it was, Kobe got you. Free throws. Kobe's was a great free throw shooter, clutch. Some guys, even those we call great, aren't good at shooting free throws still. Balance. Kobe played with great balance. You ain't see Kobe fumbling and losing his balance and stumbling out of bounds often. Play strength. Kobe played with great play strength. Like you couldn't bump him off his spot. Competitiveness. Kobe was one of the most competitive cats ever, and I know that drove teammates crazy and that drove people away from him, but he was competitive. So you put all of those skills, you put the handles, the going left and going right, the footwork, the jumper, whether it's pull-up or set, the ability to hit all his free throws, the balance. You combine that with his competitiveness. Ain't too many players ever that can go up head-to-head with all that. Name all the guys who can go head-to-head with Kobe when it comes to handles, who can score going left or going right, who got the footwork, who has the jump shot, whether it's set or whether it's pulling up, who plays with great balance, the free throws, like the play strength. Name them all. It ain't that many. So take your analytics and shove them somewhere, man. Take your analytics somewhere else. Because if you're guarding Kobe Bryant, there is absolutely nothing you can do. There are no right answers when guarding Kobe Bryant. And that's how you know whether your analytics are telling the truth or not. Because if your analytics is not going to tell you, or your analytics may tell you to leave Kobe open. But in real life, when you're guarding him, ain't nobody giving Kobe a jump shot. And if you press up on him, he's going by you. So if you sag off of Kobe, he's shooting a J. If you press up on him, he's going around you. He has counters to counters to counters. The brother was totally unstoppable, but yet people want to denigrate this guy so they could prop up Bron and prop up others. No, there are not 5 basketball players better than Kobe Bryant. And I haven't even talked about his defense yet. I didn't even talk about the fact that the man was an all-world defender, locked up, sliding his feet. Yeah, he doesn't have the accolades. He doesn't have the accolades because of charges in Colorado. One fateful night messed him up. Or else he'll have plenty of MVPs. But they gave his MVPs to Steve Nash. The Kobe slander and the Kobe disrespect is unreal, man. There are not 5 guys who have played basketball, I'm going to say ever, better than Kobe Bryant. The game, the individual game says so, and the team success says so. Stop lying to yourselves. Bill Russell was a great player, but as far as I can tell, Bill Russell wasn't shooting jump shots. He was more of a rebounder defender. Magic, great player. Magic jump shot was weak. Great leader, though. And it's funny that, people want to say, well, Kobe played with Shaq. Well, everybody plays with great players to win. Magic didn't play with Kareem, or am I dreaming? Kareem didn't play with Magic, or am I dreaming? Nah, LeBron didn't play with Dwayne Wade. LeBron didn't switch teams so he could stack the deck. Nah, he didn't do that. Come on, man. Stop disrespecting Kobe Bryant, dog. Stop it. And yeah, maybe he didn't trust his teammates as much. Everybody has a flaw. Everybody. Some of your favorite players still struggles at the free throw line. And still struggles with footwork. But we're not going to say anything. We ain't going to say nothing. So stop disrespecting Kobe, man. There are not 5 guys who has that complete package of a game. And literally, I would just say from what I've seen, Michael Jordan is the only one like that. That doesn't mean LeBron's not great. That doesn't mean LeBron's not in the conversation. But to disrespect Kobe, man, say there are not 8 guys, 10 guys, whatever, ever, who are better basketball players and NBA players than Kobe Bryant. Throw out all your advanced analytics. Throw it all out. If you're picking a basketball team, who are you taking? And if you're guarding Kobe Bryant, how are you guarding him? Most guys in the history of the NBA, if you're guarding them, there are answers. Well, I'll let this guy shoot the J. If you're Kobe Bryant, you can't give him the J. Some guys, I'll press up on him. I'll try to bump him. You can't bump Kobe Bryant. He played with great balance, great strength, great handles, made tough shots. There were no answers. And defensively, he was a dog. His mentality was to tear your heart out, do anything to win. And he won. Stop disrespecting Kobe Bryant, man. The legend. So I had to get that off my chest, man. I can't. He's not here to defend himself. He probably wouldn't. Kobe was so done with basketball after he retired. He was like, y'all can have it. He was like, y'all can have it. But I ain't going to let y'all do that. I ain't going to let y'all disrespect Kobe like that. Brother is top of the very top. Everybody has weaknesses. Yeah, he took some bad shots sometimes. He didn't trust his teammates at times. Michael Jordan didn't either. Some guys, their weakness is passing. Some guys, their weakness is shooting ability. Whatever it is. But Kobe, ain't 5 guys better than that dude at basketball in the NBA ever. And I stand on that. 100%. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all hanging in there. I'm going to catch you guys next time. NFL playoffs are here. Great time, but also sad because it means that the season's almost over. It'll be good, though. No great teams. Like I said, no great teams. No one's truly dominant. Great teams, but no one's dominant where we're like, this team's an overwhelming favorite. I like the Niners, but it's not like they can't be beat. It's not like Baltimore can't be beat. So we'll see, man. It's going to be good. But I'll catch y'all next time, man. Appreciate y'all hanging out. Mike, Sports in the Real. Peace.
I'm going straight to the top. Just put the stack on the clock. I am Ray Allen's a shot. I'm going straight to the top.